AITA for exposing my mom's secret after she gave my brother the family legacy? I'm Diana, 41, the oldest daughter in a family where being responsible usually meant being the person everyone called when something went wrong and no one mentioned when it went right. I live on my own, keep my life quiet, and for years I made room in my schedule and my bank account for emergencies that somehow always belonged to other people. My mom, Patricia, is 66 and has always known how to look fragile in front of a room. My younger brother, Ryan, is 35 and has always known how to stand behind her and let her do it. I used to think if I kept showing up, kept remembering birthdays, kept saving receipts, and kept smoothing things over, eventually my mother would see me as more than the difficult daughter who asked too many questions. I was the one who brought extra serving spoons to family dinners because somebody always forgot. I ordered the trays when Patricia said hosting was too much for her. I picked up prescriptions. I paid the repair guy when her sink leaked and she whispered, "I'll get you back next month, honey, just don't mention it at dinner. People judge." Ryan forgot birthdays and Patricia said, "Your brother has a lot on his mind." Ryan borrowed money and promised, "I'll get you next Friday." So many times that next Friday became a family joke nobody told out loud. Ryan showed up to Thanksgiving with one bag of ice after I had coordinated the food list, folding tables, paper plates, drinks, and cleanup, and Patricia put her hand on his cheek like he had crossed a desert. "See," she said to my cousins, "he always comes through." I was standing behind her with a trash bag full of paper plates, and I remember thinking I must be invisible in this family. Not absent. Invisible. Still, I helped. That is the part one have to own. I helped create the silence that protected them. I paid small bills because it was easier than arguing. I covered for Ryan twice because Patricia cried and said he was in a bad place. I bought birthday gifts and let Patricia sign Ryan's name on the card because she said, "Don't embarrass your brother." I told myself I was keeping the peace, but really I was paying rent on a room I was never allowed to enter. The birthday dinner that broke everything was held in my aunt's dining room because Patricia wanted something simple, which meant everyone else cooked while she sat in the good chair and accepted compliments. There was a grocery store cake on the sideboard, foil pans of pasta and chicken on the counter, folding chairs squeezed between the table and the wall, and cousins balancing paper plates on their knees. It looked warm from the outside. It always did. Patricia wore a pale blue sweater and kept touching a little stack of envelopes beside her plate like she was waiting for a camera crew. Ryan sat to her right, quiet and soft-faced, playing wounded before anyone had even hurt him. I had brought a salad, 2 serving spoons, and extra napkins because the group chat had been chaos all morning and nobody knew who was bringing what. After we sang happy birthday, Patricia dabbed at her eyes even though she hadn't cried. Then she lifted the thickest envelope and smiled at Ryan. "This is for you," she said. "Family legacy." A couple of relatives made little impressed noises. Ryan looked down at the envelope like he was too humble to accept it, which was Ryan's favorite performance. Patricia patted his hand. "I've been thinking a lot about what family means," she said. "Not just blood. Loyalty. Showing up. Loving someone without keeping score." My stomach tightened before she even looked at me. Aunt Marianne, my mother's sister, leaned back with her reading glasses hanging from one hand. Claire, my cousin, was across from me, giving me a small, confused smile like maybe this would be sentimental and awkward but fine. It was not fine. Patricia turned the envelope so everyone could see the words "Family Legacy" written in her curly handwriting. "Ryan will be helping me with the keepsake list and the next round of estate paperwork," she said. "He understands loyalty. He shows up with love, not spreadsheets." Someone shifted in a folding chair. A fork tapped against a paper plate. I felt the whole room waiting for me to react. I kept my voice even. "Mom, what does that mean?" She sighed like I had already disappointed her. "It means some children help because they love you," she said. "Some only come around when there is something to inherit." The room got smaller. I said, "Are you saying that to me or about me?" Patricia's mouth trembled. It was almost impressive how fast she could make herself look injured. "If it applies, Diana, maybe sit with why." Ryan murmured, "Can we not do this right now?" I looked at him. "You were fine doing it when I was the only one being discussed." Patricia set her hand over her heart. "Fine. Diana, you have been cold for years. You are too proud to help your own mother unless everyone claps for you. You keep score. You make me feel like a burden. And I have decided you will not be included in certain family keepsakes because you never showed up when it mattered." My phone buzzed under the table. Then again. Then again. I glanced down. One cousin had texted, "Please don't make a scene." Another wrote, "Your mom is aging. Be kind." Someone else sent a sad face emoji, which somehow made me angrier than words. Nobody at the table said, "Wait, is that true?" Nobody asked me one question. They just looked at their plates, their phones, the cake, anywhere but at me. I could feel heat rising behind my eyes. There was a version of me that wanted to stand up and list every Zelle transfer, every late-night call, every pharmacy pickup, every repair bill, every time Patricia had said, "Don't tell anyone I asked you." But I knew the room. If I cried, I was unstable. If I shouted, I was cruel. If I defended myself too hard, I was proving her point. So I folded my napkin, placed it beside my plate, and pushed in my chair. "Enjoy the dinner," I said. Patricia gave a wet little laugh as I picked up my bag. "See," she said to the room, "this is what I mean. She walks out the second she's not being praised." I did not slam the door. I did not peel out of the driveway. I sat in my car with both hands on the steering wheel until my breathing slowed, while my phone kept lighting up like a tiny courthouse where the verdict had already been read. By the time I got home, Patricia had posted what she called a family statement in our group chat. It had cousins, in-laws, older relatives, and one uncle who only ever responded with thumbs-up emojis. Patricia's message was long, careful, and dripping with sadness. "As a mother, this breaks my heart," she wrote. "I never wanted to say this publicly, but I can no longer protect Diana from the truth of her choices. She has made money more important than family. She has refused help unless it came with praise. Tonight she walked out because she could not handle hearing that love is not a transaction." Ryan replied, "I just want peace." Of course he did. Peace for Ryan meant everyone else cleaning up the mess quietly. Then Claire texted me privately, "I love you, but your mom looked destroyed. Maybe this is a time to soften, not fight." I sat at my kitchen table with my coat still on. The apartment was silent except for my phone vibrating against the wood. I typed a response so long my thumb cramped. I listed the sink repair, the pharmacy pickups, the money I sent for her car insurance when she said she was short, the time Ryan's rent was late and Patricia called me crying, the birthday gift I bought that she thanked him for in front of everybody. Then I deleted all of it. Because I could hear my mother's voice already. Look how angry she is. Look how she saves things to use against people. Look how cruel she gets when she's challenged. I had spent years protecting the family from the truth, and somehow the truth had become the only thing that could protect me. So instead of answering the chat, I opened my bank app. The first hour was just anger with a task attached. I pulled up Zelle transfers and Venmo screenshots with notes like, "Mom repair bill, Ryan temp help, pharmacy pickup, mom groceries, plumber, and insurance." I had a shoebox in my closet with old receipts because I learned years ago that my family rewrote history whenever paper was missing. I had labeled folders on my phone too. Not because I was planning revenge, but because I had been called dramatic enough times to know that memory didn't count when Patricia was crying. The next morning, Claire messaged again. "I'm not trying to pile on. I just don't understand why you wouldn't sign the reimbursement forms. Your mom said that's what started all this." I stared at the screen. "What forms?" I typed. A few bubbles appeared, vanished, appeared again. Claire sent a screenshot from an earlier message Patricia had written to a smaller group of relatives. Diana refused to sign the reimbursement paperwork after the last care expenses, so now everything is delayed. I am trying not to speak badly of my daughter, but I am tired. My hands went cold. "Claire, I need you to hear me very clearly," I wrote. "I have never seen those forms." She replied with, "Oh." One tiny word. One crack in a wall that had been standing for years. That was when my search changed. I stopped looking only for proof that I had helped. I started looking for what Patricia might be trying to cover. There was a shared family Google Drive we used for holiday menus, photos, and some estate-related documents after my father died. He had been gone long enough that people spoke about him softly but not constantly. He owned a watch, not flashy, not expensive in the way people mean when they whisper about money, but it mattered to me. He wore it to school concerts, birthday dinners, and every important family thing. Years before he died, he told me, "Someday this one should go to you. You actually notice time." After he passed, Patricia said it was too painful to talk about keepsakes. I let it go because grief makes people strange, and because I had spent most of my life letting things go. In the shared drive, I noticed one folder had been renamed twice. The current name was Care Expense Notes. According to the history, it had previously been named Reimbursement Draft, and before that, Care Account Shortfall Watch. I read that last word 3 times. Watch. I clicked through old documents, downloads, and photos. Some files had been moved. Some were half-finished. There were notes about money relatives had contributed for home repairs and medical-related expenses Patricia had asked us to help with. Nothing huge on its own. A few hundred here. 1,000 there. Enough to matter. Enough that somebody should have been able to explain it clearly. Then I found an old voicemail from Patricia that I had saved but never listened to again. It was from 3 weeks before the birthday dinner, on a day when I had been exhausted and done with her panic. I remembered sending her money that week, not because I wanted to, but because she kept saying the word emergency. I played the voicemail once, then played it again and typed out every word. Her voice was sweet and shaky. Honey, please call me when you can. And please do not tell anyone I asked you. I just need to cover the gap before people start asking questions. Ryan made a bad choice, but he is not like you, Diana. He can't handle being embarrassed right now. I know you understand. You always understand. I sat there with my laptop open and felt something in me go very still. She knew. She knew Ryan had done something with the money. She knew I had helped. She knew I had not abandoned her. And she had still sat at that birthday table, in front of cake and cousins and folding chairs, and told everyone I never showed up. I kept digging. In my old texts with Ryan, I found the familiar pattern. I'll get you next Friday. I swear this is the last time. Don't tell Mom, she'll freak. Then, a message from around the time the watch disappeared from Patricia's dresser. Do you know anyone who buys watches? Need quick cash. I had replied, what watch? He never answered. 2 days later, Patricia had texted me, don't ask your brother about your father's things right now. It will start drama and he is already ashamed. At the time, I thought she meant he had been careless while moving boxes. Now I understood. She was not just defending him. She was building a wall out of my reputation so nobody would look behind him. The birthday dinner had not been an emotional outburst. It had been a preemptive strike. If the family believed I was greedy, cold, and obsessed with inheritance, then any question I asked about missing money or my father's watch would sound like exactly what Patricia had warned them about. She had made me the villain before I even knew there was a crime scene. I wanted to call her. I wanted to scream so loudly she would never again get to pretend she was fragile. I wanted Ryan to feel 1/10 of the humiliation I felt sitting at that table while people stared at their forks. But anger had always been used as evidence against me, so I did the thing Patricia hated most. I got organized. I made a folder on my laptop titled, The Part Mom Left Out. Then I made a printed version because older relatives trust paper more than links. I created a 1-page timeline with dates, amounts, and short descriptions. I added screenshots of Patricia asking me to pay bills privately, with account numbers blacked out. I included bank transfer confirmations, Venmo notes, and Ryan's unpaid promises. I added the screenshot where Patricia thanked Ryan in the family chat for a gift I had bought. I added emails showing I had handled paperwork she later claimed I ignored. I did not include private medical details. I did not include anything that was embarrassing just for the sake of embarrassment. I did not call my mother names. I did not call Ryan what I wanted to call him. The folder was not pretty. It was clean. The strongest page was the voicemail transcript. I put it near the end after the timeline had already shown the pattern. Then I added a photo of my father's watch from an old Christmas picture, and Ryan's message asking if I knew anyone who bought watches. Under that, I put Patricia's text telling me not to ask about Dad's things. At the very front, I wrote one paragraph. I am not asking anyone to hate my mother or my brother. I am asking everyone to stop judging me from a version of events that was edited to protect them. If I am going to be discussed publicly, everyone deserves the full record. Before the next family gathering, I gave Patricia one chance. I sent her a text on Saturday night. Do not involve the family in a lie about me again. If you say I abandoned this family or refuse to help, I will respond with records. She answered 11 minutes later. After everything I sacrificed, you would humiliate your own mother? I stared at that word. Humiliate. Like she had not fed me to the room with birthday cake still on the plates. I wrote back, You already did that part. I am deciding whether to correct the record. She did not deny one thing. Ryan texted me 20 minutes later. Why are you trying to destroy Mom? She's been crying all day. I replied. Did you take money from the care account? No answer. I sent. What happened to Dad's watch? This time he replied. You don't know what I was dealing with. That was Ryan. Never yes. Never no. Just a fog machine with a phone. The next Sunday gathering was supposed to be a casual lunch at Aunt Marianne's. I almost didn't go. My body felt tired in a way sleep didn't fix. But I knew Patricia would use my absence as proof, and for once, I was not going to let her hold court with an empty chair representing me. The house smelled like coffee, reheated casserole, and the lemon cleaner Aunt Marianne used on every surface. People were quieter when I walked in. A few cousins looked at me, then away. Claire gave me a small nod that looked nervous and apologetic. Patricia was already seated, wearing another soft sweater, her face pale and prepared. Ryan stood near the window with his arms crossed, jaw tight, like a man bravely surviving consequences that had not even started yet. The printed folder was in my bag. The digital one was ready on my phone, private details redacted, link copied. For 20 minutes we performed family. Someone asked about the weather. Someone talked about a sale at Costco. My uncle gave a thumbs up in person, which was somehow exactly like his texts. Then Patricia sighed. I never wanted the family to see this side of Diana, she said. Every conversation stopped. Aunt Marianne closed her eyes for half a second, like she had been hoping Patricia would make one good choice and was disappointed but not surprised. Patricia continued, voice soft. But I cannot keep being punished because my daughter keeps score. I am old enough now to know that love should not come with receipts. Ryan muttered. She saves everything so she can use it against people. A cousin near the doorway looked at me and said, Why can't you just forgive your mom and move on? My hands were steady when I reached into my bag. I placed the printed folder on the dining table. The sound was small, but the room reacted like I had dropped glass. Then I sent the digital folder into the family group chat. Phones buzzed all over the room. I said, You all got her version. Now you get mine. Patricia stared at the folder. For the first time in my life, I saw her expression slip before she caught it. You are humiliating me, she whispered. No, I said. You humiliated me with lies. I'm answering with receipts. Ryan pushed off the wall. This is insane. She's being dramatic. I looked at him. Then the documents should be easy to explain. Claire opened the folder first on her phone. I watched her face change as she scrolled. Confusion, then focus, then something like shame. Aunt Marianne pulled the printed folder toward her, put on her reading glasses, and read the first page without speaking. Patricia started crying. Not loud, just enough to make people aware she was crying. I cannot believe my own daughter would do this, she said. Aunt Marianne did not look up. Patricia, be quiet for a minute. That sentence alone was worth nearly 41 years of therapy. The room went still. Even Ryan stopped moving. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of pages turning and phones tapping. Someone whispered, Wait, she paid that? Another cousin said. This was the same week Patricia told us Diana refused to help. My uncle looked at his phone, then at me, then gave no thumbs up at all. Claire finally looked at Patricia. You said she wouldn't sign forms, she said. There were no forms. Patricia pressed a tissue under her eye. You don't understand what it is like to be a mother. Aunt Marianne looked up over her glasses. Patricia, she said, calm and sharp. Is any of this fake? Patricia's lips parted. No answer came out. Ryan said, That's not the point. The point is Diana is airing out family business. Aunt Marianne turned to him. The question was for your mother. Patricia's voice cracked. I was trying to protect my son. There it was. Not the full truth, but enough truth to change the air in the room. Claire stood up slowly. Protect him from what? From paying people back? From explaining the money? Ryan's face flushed. I was going to fix it. Handling it how? Claire asked. With whose money? He looked at me. Out of habit. Like I was still the person who would translate his mess into something softer. I shook my head once. Do not look at me, I said. This is your answer to give. Patricia reached for his hand, but he pulled away, not because he was rejecting her, but because the room was watching and he wanted to look independent. I was in a bad place, he said. You don't know what I was dealing with. Aunt Marianne tapped the page with one finger. Did you take money from the care account? Ryan rubbed both hands over his face. I borrowed some. From whom? Claire asked. Because the account did not belong to you. He had no answer for that either. Then Aunt Marianne asked about the watch. The watch. My father's watch. The thing Patricia had held over me as part of a family legacy Ryan supposedly understood better than I did. Ryan looked down. I was going to get it back. My throat tightened, but I kept my voice even. Where is it? He said nothing. Patricia whispered. Diana, please. I turned to her. No, you do not get to use my name like a curtain anymore. Where is Dad's watch? Ryan finally said, I don't know. A sound moved through the room, not dramatic, just a collective exhale of disgust and disappointment. It was worse than shouting. Patricia tried one more time. He made a mistake, she said. Diana has always been stronger. I knew she could handle it. That was the closest she ever came to admitting the whole system. Ryan could not handle embarrassment. Patricia could not handle public shame. I could handle everything, so everything was placed on me. I said, I am done being the villain in a story I paid for. No one spoke for a moment. Then Claire said quietly, I owe you an apology. Not later. Now. I thought I was staying neutral. I wasn't. I was repeating your mother. Her voice shook, but she did not look away. That mattered. A few relatives mumbled apologies. A few stayed silent. One cousin rolled her eyes and said, I still don't think this needed to be in the group chat. I almost laughed. It was already in the group chat, I said. I just added the part with dates. After that lunch, the family chat changed. Not magically. Not into some warm circle of accountability and healing. But Patricia lost the stage. Claire posted first. I judged Diana from incomplete information. That was wrong. Patricia owes Diana and the family an explanation about the care account and the keepsakes. Aunt Marianne followed with, no more family statements unless they address the documents. My uncle responded with a thumbs up emoji. For once it felt appropriate. Several relatives texted me privately. Sorry, I didn't know. Your mom made it sound different. I should have asked. A few were more concerned with their own discomfort than what had happened to me. One cousin wrote, I hope you and your mom can both apologize. I deleted that one without answering. Patricia tried to post another long message about pain, motherhood, and betrayal. Nobody engaged the way they used to. Aunt Marianne replied, Patricia, answer the money question. Patricia left the chat for 2 days, then came back like nothing had happened. Ryan was told to make a repayment plan. Not by me. By relatives who had contributed to the care account and suddenly cared very much about spreadsheets. People stopped lending him money. Claire asked him for dates, amounts, and written confirmation. He accused her of treating him like a criminal. She said, I'm treating you like an adult with a debt. As for the watch, I still do not have it. I may never have it. That grief comes in small waves. Usually when I see an old picture of my father wearing it. But at least now the family knows it was not withheld from me because I was unworthy. It was gone because Ryan sold or pawned it and Patricia decided my reputation was cheaper to replace. A few days after the folder, I sent one final message to Patricia and Ryan in a separate text thread. I am not paying another bill for either of you. I am not organizing family events for people who use those events to humiliate me. I am not covering for Ryan, explaining for Ryan, or protecting Ryan from questions. Any discussion about money, estate paperwork, or keepsakes will be in writing. If either of you lies about me to the family again, I will send the timeline to whoever you involve. I am not cutting off love. I am cutting off access to my silence, my money, and my willingness to be blamed for things I did not do. Patricia replied, I am sorry you felt hurt. I almost answered. I almost explained that sorry you felt hurt is not an apology when the injury came with witnesses. But I had already said what needed saying. Ryan replied later that night. You ruined me. I stared at those 3 words and felt nothing dramatic. No victory rush. No guilt spiral. Just a tired kind of clarity. I wrote nothing back. The first real test came at the next holiday potluck. For years I had coordinated everything. Who was bringing sides? Who had ice? Who had folding tables? Who was picking up plates, cups, serving trays, foil, and trash bags? I knew which aunt forgot utensils and which cousin would promise dessert and arrive with soda. I used to make the list because if I didn't, Patricia would sigh loudly and say, "I guess some of us still care about family traditions." This time, when the group chat started buzzing, I did not open a spreadsheet. I did not text reminders. I did not buy backup forks. Claire called me the night before and said, "Are you really not coordinating?" "I am really not coordinating." There was a pause, then she laughed. "Honestly? Good." I stopped by the potluck for less than an hour. 3 people had brought green bean casserole. Nobody brought forks. There were 2 grocery store cakes and no plates big enough for them. Ryan arrived 40 minutes late carrying nothing but a fountain drink for himself. Patricia stood in the kitchen, flustered and red around the eyes, asking where the serving trays were. For 1 second, everyone's eyes went to me. The old Diana would have opened her trunk and saved the day. The new Diana took a sip from her paper cup and said, "I don't know. I didn't bring them." Patricia looked at me like I had slapped her. "So you're really going to let the family fall apart?" she asked quietly. I set my cup down. "No, Mom," I said. "I'm letting everyone carry what belongs to them." She had no line prepared for that. I left before cleanup. Later, Claire texted me, "You'll never believe this, but your uncle tried to eat casserole with a cake knife." I replied, "Sounds like a family learning experience." It was funny, but it was also sad. Not because they couldn't manage food without me, but because it took a missing fork situation for some people to understand how much invisible work they had treated as air. I did not get the apology I wanted. Patricia still tells certain people I went nuclear. Ryan still thinks accountability is something that happened to him, not because of him. Some relatives avoid the subject because it is easier to act confused than to admit they chose the loudest story. But the difference is I no longer rush to make them comfortable. I used to think peace would come when my mother finally recognized how much I had sacrificed. Now I know that waiting for her recognition was just another chore I had assigned myself. The folder did not fix my family. It fixed the lie that kept me trapped inside my role. I am still Diana, still 41, still the oldest daughter. But I am no longer the emergency fund, the unpaid event planner, the silent witness, or the convenient villain. I did not lose my family that night. I lost the job they assigned me without asking. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.